Good morning, everybody. I'm Sean Jenkins, sector head here at Hedgeye for the Gaming, Lodging, and Leisure team. It is my pleasure and privilege to have in-house here hosting live in our Hedgeye studio, Ismail Vali of the YieldSec company. You're the founder and CEO. Thank you so much for joining us.
Sure,
There's a lot that's happened in the industry. We had Flutter's Investor Day. There's obviously been a lot more before that. You know, you have TAM increases. Everyone's excited about, Flutter basically raised their TAM expectations for the US. Then over this last week, you've had UK tax changes being floated out. Then you have the FT article today with Peter Jackson talking about basically rallying the troops and informing US states, hey, we need to be prepared. Don't raise taxes on us. We're in this fight together. I think a lot going on, and really the impetus behind this call was our first discussion. So first of all, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Second of all, I think just based on our commentary and discussion before we went live here, this is probably could be a two-parter, three-parter at some point, so we'd love to have you back. But before we jump ahead to that, maybe just talk a little bit about how YieldSec came to be, a little bit on your background, all that stuff. There's a ton that we want to get to, but obviously we'd love a little bit of a background before we jump in. Yeah.
First of all, thank you for having me today. Thank you on behalf of the company as well and our clients too. So we're YieldSec. We work across the entire marketplace of online gaming. So we have a platform that we adapted from a military tech stack, AI, machine learning, and expert humans who basically look at all the activity from all of the audience in any jurisdiction. So in the United Kingdom, in New Jersey, across America nationally, we're looking for all the audience interacting with betting, gaming, lotteries, other forms of gambling, where they are, how long they're spending there, and then we have a whole bunch of clever black box proprietary tech that basically works out this is how much you're spending when you're on this site versus this site, and why you look at legal sites versus illegal sites and apps. So we were the first people to come in and go, there's a massive total addressable marketplace in each jurisdiction, but everyone is just focusing on the legal part only, the top of the iceberg as we call it, and no one's focusing on the part underneath the waterline, which is where all the criminal activity is. From a customer's perspective, do I know what legal or illegal is? If I can find it on Google, if I can find it on Facebook and Instagram, I don't know or care. I just want to be able to get my bet on, whether that's sports betting, casino, poker. And if you can find it online on a device like your phone, which we hold our phones more than we hold our kids' hands, for example. You trust what comes out.
Unfortunate reality.
Exactly.
Yes.
You trust what comes out of that phone. It's yours, it's personal. So anything that's there as data, you're going to say, what's not to trust about this exactly? Okay, so people engage and interact with stuff that is illegal, unlicensed, unregulated gaming. Thing I noticed on this from my background, I academic background in law, 2 degrees from Oxford University, then went into investment banking with Solomon Brothers, and I was one of their first internet analysts, or the first, I think, in the late 90s in New York. And how did I get that job? I was recruited out of Oxford, sent to New York, and then they asked 500 of us, who has an email account? I put my hand up, always wanted to be first and smart in class, and then got told, okay, you're the internet guy.
There you go.
So I wrote one report about what would make money on the internet after about 2 years at the bank, and I got suspended from my job because I said that the things that would be popular were pornography and gambling because people crave anonymity on the internet. Didn't know it at the time. At the end of the week, they rehired me at double my salary because they were like, that's the most requested report we've ever had. This was pre-download days.
Yeah.
So that was the most requested report. It led to a whole bunch of offers from porn companies and gambling companies. My mother was like, if you're going to do this, then do the gambling. You're not doing porn.
There you go. There you go. Interesting. That's fantastic. I think what really sparked our interest in wanting to reach out to you guys, and full disclosure, when we initially did our sort of webinar with you, I thought I was just going to get your product person or marketing person. Instead, having you on, and I just peppered you with questions for basically 90 minutes, and I was seeing how long you'd stay on for. But I think the real catalyst for me wanting to speak with you is, on the one side, we see the AGA tell us that the illegal market here in the US is anywhere from 10 to 15 billion online, right? And then I see your estimate floating around out there that suggests that it's north of 40 billion. Obviously, light bulb goes off. I see opportunity for legal operators to take share of that at some point. I think maybe going into a little bit of some detail, not all the detail, obviously, because it's a proprietary process that you guys have, but maybe just for the audience benefit, what your process and how it differs from, say, maybe the AGA, if you're not as familiar with their process, but I think maybe it's a good place to start.
Very familiar with those. It's a great question. One thing I want to pick you up on, not to correct you, not to say that you're wrong, but everybody, including myself, before I set up YieldSec, everybody uses this phrase, the legal market, the illegal market.
Yeah.
Okay? There's just one marketplace. Just one, okay? The New Jersey marketplace, the United States marketplace, the Canadian marketplace, okay? You can break it down by jurisdictions, wherever the licenses are, and that's what we do, okay? Look at the one marketplace. There are two industries in it.
Got it.
One that's legal, licensed, tax-paying, job-creating, benefiting society, and also paying its bill for an industry that features products with risks. We all know that gambling features risks. It's a risk management business, ultimately. So who pays for the responsible gaming? Who pays for the player protection? That all is a bill that's settled by the legal industry. All of those charities, all of the things that are there to basically, help people with gambling addiction, child exclusion, etc. It's all paid for by the legal industry once you've legalized gambling. The illegal industry that exists in the same marketplace, feeding from the same audience, taking the money that's in that jurisdiction, pays no tax, pays no licensing, pays no responsible gaming, and often doesn't pay its customers when they win. So why are we tolerating this? And also when we say this, that this is what's going on in the total marketplace, people are often shocked by the numbers. One answer to that, and we're very open about our tech and platform. We have a proprietary platform built off military tech, the kind of stuff that was used to find terrorist content and counterinsurgency content. So things like Al-Qaeda beheading videos. We took that because it was very good at finding something at scale and then going get rid of that piece of content. We don't do that, our clients do that, but everybody has skin in this game because it's all your money for legal stakeholders. The money that's in New Jersey, the money that's in America should be going to legal licensed operators, tax-paying, responsible operators. It should also be going to the government for the tax. It should be going to the community for that benefit. There should be commercial benefit because we've got an innovative industry in each jurisdiction. Here in America, for example, there are 95 licensed online gaming providers across America right now. Last year, that number was 103. The year before, that number was 127.
Yeah.
Why is it going down? And the number of illegal operators targeting America is going up because no one's making money. That's the point in the legal spectrum, because they need to pay for compliance, they need to pay for lobbying, they need to pay for marketing, they need to pay for the advertising to make this thing available to people, and run campaigns where you're dealing with a shadow enemy that dominates the marketplace. So how do you compete with these people? You need to know what the total marketplace is, and there is only one marketplace. Stop calling it black market, white market. It's the one online gambling marketplace. That's what we all need to be focused on, and that's where all of that money is. That's where all of the player protection is. That's where the enforcement comes in. But everybody in that ecosystem, from law enforcement through to lawmakers, through to government and regulators, through to legal operators, affiliates, advertising platforms, media platforms like Facebook and Google, you've all got skin in this game because you all want some of that money that comes from this industry. This one industry that should be running properly in this ecosystem, in this one marketplace. Right now, we do not have control of this properly. What YieldSec does is help people understand, here's what's out there, our data is simply the reality. Here are the audience, here's what they're doing, here's how long they're spending there. Here's a bunch of clever algorithms and expert teams to tell you how much money they're leaving behind on each site. And to give you an example of that, how do we know? We're not hacking anything to check anyone's database and go, how much money did X illegal gambling brand make? Okay? How much money did Bovada make? Give you one example of this on the Super Bowl. We came out the day after Super Bowl in February and we said, there's been 1.4 billion bet on legal sites and 4.1 billion bet on illegal sites. And everybody lost their mind on X and social media and in the industry press. How does this guy know? How does YieldSec know? How does his team know? What did they do to get to those numbers? These numbers can't be real because DraftKings is 35% and FanDuel is 50%. And it can't be true because FanDuel said this. 2 weeks later, the regulators published the numbers in all the states. We said 1.4 billion legal. The number was 1.398 billion. So 1.4 with rounding. Okay? If I'm right on the legal, we have to be right on the illegal too, because it's an apples and apples methodology. Look at all of the audience, all their activity, all the time. Which pages, how long did you spend there? That we can impute money based on your journeys, where else you've been. And I don't know that it's you, Sean, on those websites, but I do know that you're on a connection in Connecticut, and this is how long you spent on those sites.
Got it. So that's just it. I mean, and that's sort of, again, the second light bulb went off for us is that you're reconciling effectively your process with the legal.
Exactly.
Because there is no illegal gambling control board in whatever
No,
market.
there's no division of illegal gambling that's going to say, hey, that's we're calling it out on those numbers.
Right, exactly. Yeah, Bovada and BetUS and whatever calling you out.
See, you're happy to name them. I don't even name them. They're just illegaldgambling.com.
Okay, yeah, exactly. Whatever.
Everybody knows who they are. We all know where they are. We all see their ads online. We all see their presence. And the other point to bear in mind is they've been there for 3 decades. This is not some kind of shadow. It's not a small enemy. this, as you were saying at the beginning, there's always news in the industry every day.
Yeah.
We are fighting a fundamental war here between legal and illegal. Every day there are different skirmishes, different battles, and if you see the reactions to it from lawmakers, from media, there was a headline this morning saying that there's been 3 back-to-back big-ticket media stories in America about gambling, and it's all bad news. Okay?
Yeah.
And our numbers were quoted in that story. They were saying, these guys are saying that there's like 40 billion out there in illegal money kind of thing, in GGR, not just we're not talking handling, this is GGR. So when we get quoted in that, it's nice that people are kind of looking to us. We obviously have gone through, like, we're in year 3 now of the business, and it's before that 3 years of dev. We're at a point where our credibility counts now. The people come to us and they say, these are the only people out there who are looking at everything, okay, all the time. And they can track it back to, that's how many people visited the website. This is how many people left money behind. I can check from how many people went from illegal streaming of NFL games and NBA games and then went through to illegal gambling, which is one of the biggest recruitment routes right now, for example. So there's always news every day. I'd say you need to look at this as a war. These are small skirmishes, small battles, but fundamentally we need to be all aligned as legal stakeholders to take us to a place that is win the war here, fundamentally.
Yeah, that's, I mean, we're going to spend probably the majority of today's discussion on the US market, but maybe just to jump across the pond to the UK, obviously super topical. When we had initially put this invite out and we had agreed to have you in, or you agreed to come in, we didn't know that the UK, well, the 2 different think tanks, if you want to call them that, I don't know how much thinking is going on, proposed massive tax increases on the legal channel in the UK. Maybe walk through sort of what maybe your initial reaction was, probably a laugh or two, seeing that you have a lot of experience with that market, and from my perception, and please do correct me if I'm wrong, based on some of the data that you had shared over the weekend, suggesting that the UK, if we look at them as sort of an indication of how this should operate prior to the tax changes or pending tax changes, they've done a decent job at fighting back against the illegal channel, just given that the legal channel is greater than the illegal channel, just in terms of GGR size. At least that's my perception. Obviously, the fact that there still is illegal activity is a loss. But in my world, in the stock market world, and a lot of people that are listening to this call, we live in a relative world. It's all about second derivative and things of that nature. So curious of maybe how you think about that thought, and just in terms of and what maybe could be on the come here in the UK as they look at changing tax regimes and whatnot. Loaded question.
There's lots of questions there, so I'll try and break this down. So let's go. So obviously you can hear from the sound coming out of my mouth. I'm obviously from the UK, born and raised there, went to university there, etc., and spent a lot of time in operations there and gaming as well. The one thing in the UK is you've had legal gambling for a couple of 100 years, okay? You've had online gaming legalized from as early as 2005, okay? So this marketplace has had a history and culture of competitive betting between gambling companies for generations, okay? It's normalized. It's in every high street, every shopping mall in England, you can find this stuff advertised on the side of buses for years, kind of thing. So this is a normalized marketplace where if there was a black market, if there was illegal operations, why would it need to exist? So right now in the UK, you have 2,500 legal licensed online gambling operators, okay? 2,500
that's a lot.
in one country with 68 million people, okay? So 2,500 operators, there's lots of choice, there's lots of offers, they are throwing money.
There's the dominant players, right?
Dominant players, but there's tons of others.
And
those people are still making money because, again, why would you be in the online gaming business where just to get traffic to your front door is going to cost you $10,000, $15,000 a week just in Google, PPC, to get people there, kind of thing, okay? So just look at the outlay and what the money coming back is. So there's plenty of gambling. It's a normalized cultural activity in England, enjoyed by millions, okay? Now, the UK doesn't need to have an illegal operator spectrum, a black market, but it does. Every industry online does, because some customers can't get the things they want, okay? So if I'm a winning customer, where am I going to place my bets? Ladbrokes, William Hill, Paddy Power will all say no to me because you win too much money. We don't want your business.
You're an advantage player.
So you need a black market in any gambling marketplace. There will be 0.5 to 1% of a certain type of customer who can only put his money on with shady operators, kind of thing.
Right.
So that's the normalized black market. That's what we should all be expecting to see.
That's the end goal for this whole thing. If you guys are successful, that's where the world's headed.
Exactly. That means that's what's called channelizing the marketplace. So we've pushed all the crime to the margin, and now most of the business is legal. That's what you'd expect. 0.5 to 1% is illegal. What you're looking at in the UK is when we started monitoring in 2022, it was 2% black market share, and we were like, it's kind of double what it should be. And the UK is a really almost perfect marketplace. And it was growing. And we started calling out the systems, finding stuff, our teams are finding stuff and analyzing it. We noticed one thing. Illegal streaming was coming up very strong in terms of like people couldn't afford, with the cost of living crisis that was going on in Europe at the time during the pandemic, people couldn't afford things like Sky Sports. I can't pay $30 a month to watch all the sports. So I'm looking online to find out where I can watch Premier League, where I can watch football tournaments, where I can watch boxing matches that cost maybe $50 to watch. So there's a lot of stuff coming from illegal streaming. All of the advertising there was illegal gambling. All of it, pretty much. The other piece here was certain vulnerable groups. Children and self-excluded customers. So self-excludes, it's a European phenomenon. This is another angle of responsible gaming. So self-excludes are basically people who said, I have a gambling problem, I don't want to gamble anymore. Government has a scheme, regulator manages a scheme that basically says, if you tell us who you are, give us your details, we'll stop you gambling.
You'll never be allowed to
with all of the
open an
legal
account.
companies, okay? So those guys started looking for, I don't want to be on this scheme anymore, give me the illegal operators, and that came in. So that's where we were seeing growth from. That growth took the UK from 2% black market share to 4% by the end of 2022. 2023, sorry. By the middle of this year, we're at 5.3% in the UK.
So it's been growing.
So it's growing, and one thing did it was the Euros this summer and the Olympics. Tons of illegal streaming, and people were basically watching the illegal streaming to not pay for the soccer, not pay for the Olympics, and then they were going, oh, here's all these gambling opportunities. And from a customer's perspective, I don't know what's legal or illegal. I'm just taking what's in front of me, and if it's on my Instagram, it's on my TikTok, what's wrong with it exactly? So that's where the audience have been going. So even in the UK, you've got a rising tide of illegal operator activity. The regulator will say things like, we've taken care of all this, there's nothing going on here. They called us out publicly and said, YieldTech are always talking about this self-exclusion problem, and we have really good relationships with Google, and we've told them to stop taking advertising. Dude. My response to this, literally to a journalist, was dude. No illegal operator is paying for the advertising to reach those customers. He's just optimizing his website to say, not on the self-exclusion scheme, gambling.com. Come here. So nobody was buying sponsored links, and the way you should treat this kind of stuff is to have the right relationships with Google, the right relationships with Facebook to say, shouldn't this be treated like something like anorexia or bulimia is? So that when people type in terms like, I want to kill myself into Google, it says, do you need help? That's the result that comes back, not go commit suicide.
No, of course.
So there's a way of handling this that's better. So from the UK perspective, they've got lots of things right, but they're getting lots of things wrong now. So there's a sense of over-regulation, too many new rules. And again, a sense that you're now bringing up this is the first time in the UK this summer that we saw, in the UK summer, we saw the mass market being targeted by that illegal streaming stuff. It's not just those groups like children and self-excludes, and that's alarming enough. With 500,000 people on the self-exclusion scheme in England, and how many kids are there? And they're the next generation of gamblers as well. And then the other piece is how many people are coming from illegal streaming because they can't afford $50, $75 to watch a boxing match featuring a British champion kind of thing. But then you end up in front of illegal streaming, and the problem is it's not just that opportunity that you saw that advertising, it's infected your feed on social media now. So now they're hammering you all the time. Once you register and engage with them, because that's how you watch those fights and broadcast for free, you won't get that content unless you give them something. They'll get your details, they'll cookie you, you're now inundated with illegal gambling offers, and now you're being channeled towards, this is changing the marketplace. If they bring in the tax, which is what they're saying, we want to double the tax. And this is not surprising. Every government, especially a Labour government, left-leaning government, what's good for a lot of money that we need right now, quickly? How about the gambling industry? They've got cash, haven't they?
Well, they're looking for $3 billion of incremental taxes, right?
So everybody makes
called it a raid.
Exactly, Everybody makes that dumb assumption that this is like 1950s or something, and we could just go to the monopoly lottery company and go, oh, we need some money. Can you just deliver it to our door in a dump truck, please? That's not how this works anymore. Look at the costs that come with this industry. Online gambling is not an easy business to make money in. The American marketplace has proven that. We've been here 6 years now legally, okay? Who is making money consistently? Who is making GGR profitability consistently? Who is paying back their shareholders consistently?
Basically 2 operators, that's it.
Exactly. But everybody
on the
else,
whole, it's still,
everybody else has been pushed to the margin, and that's the thing, is you're also not seeing that new innovation, which should come from the crucible of being in the commercial marketplace in America. You should be seeing innovation in product, innovation in promotions, innovation in marketing. We're not seeing it because it's just a couple of big brands, and that's it. Okay, and then those 2 brands are also fighting the fire of, how do you seriously compete with a shadow enemy who's hiding in plain sight. They're all over. They're all over sponsorship of podcasts, all over the app stores, all over Google, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. They're there all the time. They may not be able to sponsor sports teams, not that they probably would want to anyway, because they come with big ticket prices. They're not able to advertise on TV, but so what? Who's watching TV consistently nowadays?
A lot
anyway?
of streaming,
exactly.
Of course,
And there's illegal streaming too, which is where they are advertising.
Right.
So it's like take an example of movies. Joker 2 movie came out 2 weeks ago. Who was that brought to you by illegally? So the same day that came out in American movie theaters, October the 4th, I believe it was, where was it available online? Millions of illegal streaming sites, and all of those broadcasts were brought to you by one illegal gambling company.
Wow.
Throughout the broadcast, you watch it on streaming, it had their brand, had ads all the way through the movie.
Got it. Was it steak? Was it steak?
I'm not going to say who it was.
Okay, all right. You don't have to. You don't have to say who. We'll go with brand A, brand B, brand C. Really interesting. I guess maybe doubling down a little bit on the UK. We'll see what happens with the tax changes, where it lands. If people we talk to suggest that there maybe is still a slight chance that they just harmonize the rates and bring sports betting to 21%, just as a way to kick the can, get a deal done. Hey, you'll get a couple $100 million more in tax revenue, but it's not going to be in the billions. And then revisit it in the coming years. Other people we talk to suggest, hey, it's non-zero that they really do double these rates.
Yeah.
In your eyes, is it too late for the Flutters of the world and the Entanes of the world to say, look, this is the data. There's clear evidence here that we are going to continue to lose share. We might be growing year over year, but the illegal industry is growing faster because we don't have enough in place here to combat what they're working with. Maybe you have a few slides.
I think there's one thing I'd bring up here is just the slide of number 8.
Slide number 8, guys.
Please,
yeah, if you could throw that.
So these are marketplace maps that we did across, take any jurisdiction. The one on the left, the green one, that's how a marketplace should look. These are all nodes of data between here are the audience members, here's the activity, here are the operators that they're engaging with. How did they get there? All these different paths and lines, okay? As you go through those stages from left to right, that's basically stage 1, that's clean, great, that's a green marketplace, legal operators only. By stage 4, on the right, it's like a cancer diagnosis, basically.
Jesus.
That's the worst thing you can see. So all of that yellow and red is illegal operators and the people who move the traffic and audience for them. So by stage 4, you're looking at the green has been pushed right up to the margin, and yellow and red are most of the marketplace, because that's illegal operators, their affiliates, their advertising, their offers. They push all legal gambling to the margin. Now, taking this example of the UK and saying, what can the industry do about it? You need to very clearly explain to government and the media on one level. Every other market, we track every marketplace in the world, every market that's looked at increasing the tax rates and has increased the tax rates, what happens? Those costs get passed on to the consumer in some format, okay? Right. That either means there's less offers, there's less promotions, and the pricing's different too. Sure. And you're working to 3 fundamentals: price, product, promotions here, okay? Here in the US, you've got restricted product. Most states have sports betting now, 38, 7 have casino and sports betting kind of thing. But what do all the customers do in the other states? Does that mean that there's no casino gaming? Does that mean there's no sports betting and casino gaming in California? No, all of this stuff is going on every damn day, and money's just going out the door to crime. In the UK marketplace, if you double the tax rates, if you increase it even 20%, okay, you increase the tax rates by, what's going to happen? A whole bunch of operators will retreat from the marketplace, they'll stop their marketing, they will become affiliate dependent because they now don't have any capex to invest in marketing and offers. They will just basically say, we'll pay people for the customers they bring us when the customers spend. That's all that will be left. And you can see from how the illegal world runs, the affiliates dominate the illegal community because lots of illegals are invested in affiliate opportunities. Here in America, we have basically less than 100 affiliates who just promote legals only. We have nearly 900 who promote legals and illegals.
And without naming names, an affiliate, just as an example, it's could be a company or a person
could be anybody
saying, hey, link in bio to get your...
Exactly. So affiliates can be a lot of things nowadays. It used to just be sites like casino.org. It used to be sites like Legal Sports Report, even, they'll feature links and this kind of stuff. Those guys are only doing legal business. But there's a whole bunch of other people who are influencers on Twitter, influencers on Instagram, a bunch of people who are basically, even newspapers get involved in this. USA Today has a whole bunch of things about who are the best betting sites to deal with. You quite often find in America, you can look up media and go, this is a legal newspaper in a state like Connecticut, and they've got top 10 betting offers, and they're all illegal brands. Amazing. Because somebody paid their marketing team a whole bunch of money to get that list embedded on a page. And it takes time to find this stuff, but obviously we find it all the time and can call it out. So the big point here is we need to get to a place where the marketplace makes sense. The entry to the marketplace is also restricted. So I often use an example here of, In the online gaming world, each jurisdiction is like a trip to Disneyland. So you tell your kids, we're going to go to Disneyland, kids. We're going to save up our money, and we're going to go there at Christmas. It's the best time of year with the rides and the parades and everything. You get your family to Disneyland after you saved up, you spent your money to get in, like an operator does to get a license, to become compliant, to get approved to operate in a state. You get into that state and it should have some level of exclusivity for, I am here as a legal responsible operator, I contribute to commerce in this state or jurisdiction, I contribute to the community through the tax I pay and the funding of responsible gaming schemes, and it's in-state jobs too. And it's an innovative online industry at the end of the day, full of AI, full of machine learning, and full of human beings too to manage all of that stuff. So on my trip to Disneyland, I've got in, taken my family, spent all this money. If we're sat down eating our Disney chicken tenders and we're looking over at the fence and the kids go, Dad, all those guys are just cutting a hole in the fence and coming in for free. How would you feel about that?
Yeah.
You'd be pretty annoyed, okay? Your family would be annoyed, even your children, before the Asian majority would be annoyed about this. But in the online gaming world, this thing goes on every day and we do nothing about it. In that example of Disneyland, Disney would be annoyed. They'd fire some security guards, they'd get some new fences and an armed response. The customers would get a refund and an apology. Here in the online gaming marketplace, entry to this theme park, well, a license doesn't mean anything, really, does it? Because anyone can come in. So unless we start getting into monitor, police, enforce, and then optimize and rectify. That's our mission with every customer. We're not here to be the policeman for you. We're not here to tell you either as a client, put on the Batman mask and cape and let's go vigilante. The point here is coordinate everything as legal stakeholders so that the work gets done to change the marketplace and make it channelized and legal. That's the point here. So the UK, coming back to that example, you're about to spoil the theme park there. You're about to start cutting holes in the fence because if you increase the tax rate, price, product, promotion, the fundamental 3 Ps in this business go out the window. Because if the operators are paying more tax and they're also having to lobby hard because there's this feeling that the gambling industry, the legal gambling industry, is the big bad enemy here, the big bad wolf. No, it's not. They contribute to the 3 Cs, as we call them at YieldSec. They contribute to commerce, consumers, and to the community through taxation. The only way you're going to get protected consumers, the only way you're going to get the taxation, the only way you're going to have successful industry, look at the legal industry to lead, okay? But if you start giving them surprises like, hey, we're doubling the tax rates, what do you think will happen? People will pull back, there'll be less spent, there'll be less hires, there'll be less money going back to the community, and what will happen? Because they're not pricing themselves as competitively as they used to, crime comes in because that's a vacuum and an opportunity. Same way that we saw recently in Europe. As soon as you have things like an advertising ban, Belgium, for example, has an advertising ban. Everybody in politics and lawmaking decided there's too much gambling advertising, let's ban all advertising. By whom? By the legal gambling industry. So they have to sit on their hands like they've done something wrong.
Right.
Go sit on the naughty step, you guys can't advertise or market anymore. But what if you look on, from all of our monitoring, you look on any of the social media platforms, who is there? Illegal gambling went from 500 operators to 2,000 in 6 months in Belgium.
Oh, wow.
Okay? Now it's at a point where basically the legal industry is trying this desperate fight back, but nobody wants to listen in government because they're just like, no, you advertise too much, you've done something wrong, we don't want to talk to you about it now. You can't have those relationships with an industry that can leave behind a substantial public good when it is run correctly by everybody there. So we're not here to say, do it like this, we're just here to go data as reality. Advantage comes from our analysis. This is what's going on. This is where you should advertise. This is where you should be marketing. This is a promotion you should run. And our recommendations lead to increased revenue. So that's our business model for every client. It's just show our clients a flat line of you pay us X for our data and analysis and recommendations, and your revenue starts to rise because now you're doing things that other people aren't doing. Now you're not making the same mistakes. Now you're lobbying smarter. Now you're going after things in terms of where are my customers? Where is my audience? Where should I buy my advertising? Where shouldn't I buy my advertising? And also making sure you can control this whirlwind of so many media stories that want to paint the legal industry as bad when it's not bad. It's just an industry that features products with risks. And the legal industry is the only one that's going to lead it correctly.
That's all fascinating. I think, you know, for some people that are maybe flipping through the deck as we're speaking here, just to see the actual sheer size of the U.S. market. I mean, you call it the Super Bowl example, but I think the interesting slide, or given that it's a full year of data, it's a little bit lagged, but you do have the first half of 24. But you know, just the sheer size, over 41 billion. I guess, you know, the big question that I've heard from folks is like, that's super interesting data, and maybe what your initial discussion points were hinting at this, but how does the legal, how do we shrink that? How do we basically turn the green piece of the pie into the red piece of the pie? In fact, how do we flip the script on the illegal industry? It's not just California, Utah, Georgia, Texas, right? Because there still is a massive illegal presence in a lot of markets. Like I think you guys had put some interesting data out, or maybe it was just shared with us, on New York, basically how much money they're leaving on the table with not having online casino, because there's obviously people using, operator B, C, D, whatever. We don't need to name names, but large offshore options. I guess, how do we get there? And do you actually, and I'm giving you multi-part questions.
No
Sorry,
problem.
it's very Wall Street of me. If you ever listen to an earnings call and you hear an analyst ask 16 questions into one, I guess from your perspective, do you get the sense, and maybe this is kind of the momentum in your own business, that things are changing, that there is at least some initial momentum towards operators understanding what the hell's going on, governments, takes time, any government, it wasn't a political statement, but just it takes time to inform people. Do you get the sense that we're just in the early innings, or maybe a good way to start there?
That's a very good place to start. Thank you for the question. The main thing to reassure people and remind people here: no one's doing anything wrong, okay? Apart from the criminals, okay?
Right.
Apart from the crooks, they're the people who brought bad to this marketplace because they came here to make money, okay? Mm-hmm. It's our money, however, okay? So we should all be slightly annoyed, if not really annoyed, that that's going on, because we're all being stolen from. This is an era that we call it the Great Illegal Gambling Robbery, okay? Everybody is being stolen from, including the customer and the audience, okay? Because everyone's being cut and diced and sold a certain way. And the point here is it changing? Okay, right now, no, it's not changing for the better, okay? Mm-hmm. So right now, yes, legal gambling is growing, okay? Yeah. But it's also getting a really bad name for itself because it's being blamed for everything that goes on in the total marketplace. Mm-hmm. So all of the harm and damage that's behind, that harm and damage goes back 3 decades online in America, okay? With all of those illegal brands. Legal brands have only been there nearly 6 years, some of them, okay? Right. So is it DraftKings, FanDuel, BetMGM's fault? No, all they're trying to do is replace and change the marketplace. Mm-hmm. So they were invited to take out licensing, they did. They passed those licensing tests, which isn't exactly easy. All of your employees need to be background checked, all of your operations are checked all the time. You need to be compliant, you need to maintain that, and leave behind a ton of money in tax, okay? So now in New York, how much money is being left behind? A ton of money, because how does this business work? Price, product, promotion. And product means just sell them one product or many. Look at what illegal gambling does. Every illegal gambling operator that has been in America since the mid-90s, casino, sports, poker, other games, slot machines, predictors, lotteries, everything you can give them, give it to the customer, because while they may come in for sports, sports is not a high margin, high profitability product. Customers tend to win most of the time. So you're lucky if you're making 9 to 12% margin. Lucky if you're making that, okay? And bad results. The first job I had in gambling was for Ladbrokes, now an Entain company. We were reminded daily, make a bad decision in operations and marketing, we're out of business. Make a bad price, we're out of business. Make a crap product, we're done, okay? Because they want, the credibility thing is so you're on that knife edge, that will the customer accept it? And this is a business that's got a lot of illusion to it, but it's risk management. I'm telling you, you could make this much money if you're right and I'm wrong. Customers doing the same thing back to us. So it's adversarial and you need to manage that relationship correctly. Now with illegal gambling, it's selling you this fever dream of, we can give you hundreds in bonuses and thousands in winnings and all this stuff, and it sounds great, I'm sure, but it's not real, okay? Now if you look at what we see from all of the social media posts and everybody else, I bet with X illegal gambling company. I never got my money. I won, and they only gave me 10% of my money. I won, and
in a money order.
Exactly, yeah. If I tried to get my money back, and I then said I was going to report them to the feds. They then told me I'd committed an offense because I was part of the illegal banking transaction. So they even try and blackmail their own customers. So the legal industry has to replace illegal gambling, and nobody helped them, did they? Because look at take a marketplace example of, I used to call this the Las Vegas lesson, this analogy. So Vegas is a marketplace that was riddled with crime, 50s and 60s and 70s. And then it got to a point where some of the kind of older families in Nevada and the police and government worked together and went, we're going to kick some crooks out of town, okay? So come the end of the 70s, Vegas went on a mission to go, we're getting rid of crime, getting rid of the mob, and that was also a broader kind of federal mission in America to go, we're getting rid of the mafia and organized crime. We don't want them involved in our industries and in our communities anymore. So you kicked crime out and you made it stay out by having new processes, new coordination, new ways of dialogue and speaking to each other. When did we ever do that in online gaming? But crime was already there, wasn't it? Pre-2018 and the repeal of PASPA, how much crime was there in online gaming? Everybody had accounts with offshore bookies, and those offshore bookies stayed because nobody stopped them, did they? Nobody said those guys need to leave now. So all of the licensing ignored the fact that that legacy black market was there, ignored the fact that those illegal operators had customer databases, and they still do, okay?
Yeah.
And the problem is that now, take an example from Super Bowl. So this year on Super Bowl, one of the biggest brands, one of the biggest illegal brands that was operating, had a special offer which was a $30 free bet to anyone who signed up for an account, old customer, new customer, doesn't matter. Everybody gets a free $30 bet on the Super Bowl. Why 30? It was their 30th Super Bowl in business. Now, if you're BetMGM or DraftKings, you can't even compete with that. But to put that in an audience member's head, 30 years in business, of course they're going to be trustworthy. Of course they're legitimate. Of course they're legal. Of course I'll get my money back. No, you probably won't, but it sounds like a great offer, doesn't it? The other part that they won through was basically being all over social media and attaching themselves to the Taylor Swift story and offering Taylor Swift prop bets. What color lipstick will she wear? Will she kiss Travis's mother? Will she be wearing an engagement ring? All this kind of stuff led to women coming in to bet on the Super Bowl, and now the boyfriends are going, yeah, darling, you can bet on that. It's great. You enjoy me doing it too now. So all of that Taylor Swiftization of the Super Bowl and gambling this year was hijacked by illegal gambling companies. They're doing things that legal brands would not do, could not do, would never engage with. But they get the audience because of it. So when you look at where the audience are, where their activity is, you factor for things like our platform does are going, if you wanted to bet with BetMGM, you can place a deposit for $10, you can place a $1 bet, even less than that. With an illegal site, what can you do? You have to place a $100 deposit on average because they have much higher thresholds because they want you to pay more to join them. And that's because they have cross-sell ability, don't they? They have all of the products. So they might not make the money out of you on sports, but they will make it on casino and poker. Okay? So that's the point here. If you don't allow the industry to basically be all product all the time, how is it going to replace illegal gambling? If you're not one for one, you're not matched as offers, how are you going to compete with these guys? So if I'm opening an account with DraftKings, I'm going there because I can get a bonus there. They're advertised on TV. I've seen them. I get a special offer. This morning I came here by Uber. I got a DraftKings offer in my Uber app. Okay? But just to not to criticize anybody for this, but to point out, it offered me $200 for a $5 bet, new customers only. That's something that illegals don't do. Illegals will offer the same offers to everybody to say, you know you can trust us. We're the home of the best offer, we never close kind of thing. When you start segmenting your customers into what you can have and you can't, well now the illegals look better, don't they? That's one of these key learnings that we bring to clients and operations is don't play the same game, okay, that everybody else is playing. You need to compete with the guys who are really beating you, the illegals, rather than just thinking it's me versus these 5 or 6 guys in the legal spectrum. It's you versus everyone all the time. That's what this business is. That's why I love the discipline of this business and operations. But now when you look at the marketplace, I'm not here to say this is unfair. We're here to help people win and beat crime and make the money they should. That's the fundamental point here. Nobody is making the money they should, and everybody's being stolen from. And that includes state governments and regulators, okay? You're responsible to allow that money to blossom and feed American business, American commerce, American community. If that industry, the legal one, cannot compete effectively, how's that going to happen?
That's really interesting. There's a bunch of different ways in which we can sort of build off that. I think from our perspective, and maybe in light of and we've talked about this, but we haven't on this forum quite yet. Just talking about Bovada and the news that we had, and cease and desist, and operators have been very coy with, hey, well, we don't really know if it's having a positive impact or not. And I guess maybe to take one step back before I go on the Bovada topic, because I think there's probably a lot we can double click on. But from our perspective as analysts, we see the legal market, the legal channel, not market, channel. Getting better at that. We see it growing 25, 30, 45%. Cohorts that were launched in 2019 still growing really rapidly. Flutter had some very interesting data in their investor day. I guess maybe your point is that's all great, but that's peanuts compared to what actually the total market and addressability really is. And so, is correct me if I'm wrong, is that kind of what you're indicating in that, like, you know, you're tapping into a portion of the market, but it's actually a lot bigger than what you think the market is? Us analysts, companies, whatever, stakeholders that are on the legal side of or observing the legal side. Is that a fair way to look at it, or?
It's definitely fair. I'm going to say something that might be slightly controversial here, okay? So, lots of
okay,
people
look at
the American marketplace and you think, oh, look, it's growing so much and it's boiling over and it's getting out of control. And now you've got people asking for things like, we need to have advertising restrictions.
Yeah.
We shouldn't let them sponsor sports teams. It's bad.
Got to remove these bets and that bet, yeah.
If I'm really blunt about this, look at the American market from where we see it with all of the data. We look at everything from above, so we see where all the audience is, where all their activity is. We can see what's engagement is, where the growth rates are. We've had that for 3 years now, okay? The thing that's really fundamental here, the legal industry in America is almost being used like supermarket coupons, okay? People are coming to you when you give them the best offer, but are they staying? Not really.
Yeah, on the whole,
and
maybe
why
not,
don't they stay? Why don't they stay? Because you don't have all the products, do you? So if you don't have casino, you can't give them free spins on slots. If you can't give them a free poker game, free entry into a kind of Texas Hold'em championship, etc. Can't give them entry into things like championships, period, really, because a lot of illegals do those kind of promos. Legal guys don't. So the legal industry generally gets used like a coupon service. It's kind of like, okay, I'm going to use them for that special offer and then I'm going to move on. And I already had accounts with all the illegals anyway. So that's a massive problem. How are you going to make the legal business look attractive enough to consumers when it cannot basically offer the same service? So from a choice convenience perspective, price, products, promotion perspective with customers, I'm going illegal because they've got everything. And who cares about this legal versus illegal thing? I don't even think that way as a consumer, do I? If it's on my phone, if it's on my advertising, if it's in my feed, what's illegal about it exactly?
Right.
Okay? So no one's asking those questions. And again, regulators and government will come back and say, well, they need to be looking for the division logo and the gaming enforcement logo. No one does that stuff, and any illegal could fake it anyway. It's just a GIF, okay?
Sure.
So all of this stuff means that if you don't get serious about illegal gambling, it is the fundamental existential threat for the legal business. So yes, there's growth in the legal industry. Of course there's going to be, because you're bringing in new people. But have you converted all of the masses who were already there with their offshore bookie accounts, etc.? And let's not just call it offshore bookie. It was offshore multi-product operator, because that's what illegal gambling understood from the beginning. You bring them in on sports, you cross-sell them to everything else, and that's where you make your margin and your LTV, your lifetime value. And you get a low CPA then across many products. Right now for the legal industry, we have a very high CPA, hundreds of dollars, okay?
It's come down, but it's still high.
It's still high.
Is what you're saying.
And the other problem that feeds into the CPA is I need to buy all of my marketing and advertising as a marketing director for any of these brands on a state by state by state basis. So is there cost inflation in that? You bet there is. Because basically Google is saying, Facebook is saying, Instagram is saying, if you want to buy advertising on a platform, show me your license. Show me your license means the price has gone up, doesn't it? How come illegal gambling can still buy advertising on the same platforms? Because they're not saying that they're gambling. They may not be in the gambling section on the App Store, but they're still there. And that's the problem here, is that going back to Bovada in this example, and that's the one illegal gambling company I'll mention here, okay?
Sure.
So take
it's been out in the news.
Open, and everyone's doing these cease and desist warnings, and I can see that's another strategy that regulators have adopted. Now, if you don't monitor, police, and enforce, how do you know they stopped? Okay? Because the average illegal website has 300 mirrors and redirects behind it. Because they're not just going to send you to illegalgambling.com. Any government could ban that website address. Any ISP could help you stop access to it. Any telecoms ministry could go, okay, we're stopping access to illegalgambling.com. Do you think the business stops the day that they do that? They're prepared for that to happen. It's like saying that drug dealers, all the police are going to mob that street corner of Bedford and Hudson because that's where all the drug dealing goes on. Does that mean that drug sales have stopped? No, they're going to move to the next street corner tomorrow in another place and move to mobile phones. That's what crime does. It adapts and finds ways. So unless you monitor, police, and enforce the entire marketplace, you're never going to change this thing properly. That's on all of us as a mission, okay? All of us need to feed into that process. Us as data analysts and a platform that's technical intelligence, operators, regulators, governments, media teams as well, and those media platforms like Google and Facebook, because fundamentally, those guys are kind of helping crooks steal money. So
that's what I'm taking. That's my big takeaway so far, among other things. But yes, I need to talk to my comms analyst.
That's an accessory to theft argument. So they're handling stolen goods effectively. Now, some point, that's going to result in litigation if industry doesn't make the money it should.
Right.
So people will start asking those questions, the same as streaming is asking those questions to go, well, maybe we don't want to go after the end-use consumer in streaming who's streamed a movie or TV show or sports event for free via an illegal platform. Initially, people were saying, let's go after them and find them $1,000 and stuff. That's not a way to get your money back, is it?
Right.
If you go after Facebook and the tech platforms, maybe that is a way to get your money back, because you can say, you guys help people steal from us. Same as you guys brought illegal gambling advertising, you're helping people steal from the commerce and community in that licensed industry, in that Disneyland theme park. You help them cut the hole in the fence and carry their money out with them as well.
Right.
Carry our money out.
Yeah, exactly. I guess maybe on this topic of Bovada, something that I've discussed with clients and people that are really close to the industry, and I think a lot of people kind of get the sense in here and have maybe seen some of your published work and things of that nature. And it's like, hey, this is a bigger problem. Cease and desist on Bovada is, they're one out of whatever, how many, what do you have? 860 plus 638 affiliates. This was last year's numbers, are probably even greater this year.
It is.
Maybe you do have it on slide 12.
Slide 12. So
okay, there you go. 892 plus 651. That's a lot of different operators and angles and people. You can't just send 1,000 plus cease and desist orders out. That being said, if, say, hypothetically, Bovada is one of the larger operators, and I have a follow-up question to this, do you think that maybe on a consumer psyche, if they go to their website and they're blocked, at least initially, there is maybe some hesitation on a certain, and this is a hypothetical, of course.
Yeah.
Obviously, they can be redirected, or do you think that there's enough sophistication on the illegal channel, in particular Bovada or sportsbook operator B, C, D, that they're well prepared for this, and it's not really going to be just a free lunch for DraftKings and FanDuel to take these customers over. We're trying to really size this and figure out, do these even work, or is it just like step one on a 100-step process that these states need to embark on? Maybe we could
It's a really good question. So look, the way that you need to approach the marketplace is monitor, police, and enforce all of the time, because that's what the audience is doing. Their activity takes place all the time. So if you're looking at going after one particular operator, going after any, if we could bring up slide 6 just quickly,
okay? Yeah, guys.
So that brings us the iceberg again. So the iceberg shows you really clearly that basically what you're seeing is the legal business, the white, bright, shining cap of that iceberg above the waterline. It is floating in a sea of criminality, okay? And it always has been. So you need to protect that legal industry. Going after one illegal brand that you can't really identify properly, it's below the waterline, it's in the dark of that iceberg, okay?
Yeah.
It's underneath the water. So you're sailing this ship called Titanic, iGaming, towards this iceberg, and you're going, okay, it's just that thing, we can deal with that. No, you can't, because you don't realize that it's a business as usual practice by every illegal gambling company to have mirrors, redirects, and relationships with affiliates that move the business elsewhere. And also, when you're dealing with consumers, do we really believe nowadays that any consumer is going illegalgambling.com, enter, I'm going to go to that website?
Yeah.
No, you're clicking on links, you're clicking on search, you're clicking on streaming, social media. That's what got you there. Do you care what the URL is? So yes, it's easy to ban one website, illegalgambling.com, one app, illegal gambling app. But does that mean the business ended? No, because it's just mirrored and redirected another route there. So it's the same as the drug dealing analogy. It will get there somehow. You'll get that money to move. So the problem here is you need to have an awareness of business as usual tactics by the black market, by the illegal operators. They will find a way of getting to their audience, okay? They understand all of the audience, all their activity, bring it our direction. The legal business is flailing because we don't know how to react to this thing. Whose job is it? Whose problem is illegal?
The regulator, is it FanDuel?
Is it the feds? Bring the DOJ and bring everybody. Bring me everyone to sort this problem out for me. And the problem is, it's all of our problems because it's all of our money that's going out the door here. So the money that should go to the legal industry, the money that should be left behind for government and community taxation, the money that should pay for responsible gaming, the money that should go to sponsor sports teams and athletes and all this great stuff, all of that's going to start to disappear. And then what happens when the ecosystem starts to collapse to the point of legal gambling simply does not make the money it should or could have done. And now crime dominates everything. And one thing we learned about crime real quickly with YieldSec, crime does not invest its money in the community and new building projects and hiring new staff and 401ks and pensions.
No.
Crime invests in more crime. That's it. Okay. So there'll be other forms of this going on online, and that's the future of our communities at home then. Most of our activity is online now. Most of our economic activity is online. You need to get control of this, and fundamentally this business should and needs to succeed. And it's an American business. Let's make it work here in America.
Sure.
By focusing on, those numbers are really alarming. Just if we take slides 11 and 12 quickly, just to do a quick flip between.
I keep looking at them.
11 and 12 is interesting because it shows you there are 860 illegal sports betting and casino operators in America during last year. That number this year, if we go to slide 12, 892, okay? Go back to 11, we had 103 legal sports betting and casino operators in America.
That number's going down.
And we're down by 8 this year. Now that's not M&A. Everybody would say, oh, this must be M&A.
No, there's been a lot that have dropped out. Yeah.
Lots have dropped out, and they're going to continue to keep dropping out because it's become a feast where only 2 big brands can even get access to the table, 2 big legal brands, and the feast is really, the buffet is with all the crooks and illegal guys. So that's the problem right now, is we need to have a coordinated strategy, tactics, and also it's all of our problems attitude towards this. Okay? If I want to succeed in this marketplace, I need to be talking to YieldSec, I need to be seeing what's going on in the marketplace. Tell me what to do next from a data perspective of all the audience, all their activity, all of the time. What do I do on the next Super Bowl? What do I do on the next NFL playoffs, next NBA championship? What do I do? Where do I spend my money? How do I get to my audience? And what are the strategies and tactics I can use to make sure I can grow versus the illegals and dominate my relationship with customers? And in the background of that is all of the lobbying support to say, what do we need to tell government, regulators, politicians, and the media so that they understand, don't keep being down on gambling industry, legal industry. Right. Be down on these guys who are criminals. They're not even part of our industry. These are people came here to steal from us. They've done that very successfully for years, and this has to stop now.
Very, very interesting. We got, I guess, close to 10 more minutes, a little bit less than that, but I have basically 2 more questions, and then maybe we can kind of freelance for the last few minutes here. But I guess maybe from the work that you guys have done on the illegal channel, I think the big question that we get and we ask ourselves is, okay, I think the example of the UK a few years ago was really interesting in that, 1 to 2%, I think you had called out, like, you're never going to tap into that. An Entain or a Flutter or in the States, DraftKings, that activity is just not going to happen because they don't want it. They're sharp bettors or they're advantaged players on the casino side. We don't want to ever have them in our doors or on our apps. But from a maybe criminality or anonymous gambling, like what percent of maybe that, that TAM, if you will, in the US of, 30 billion, 40 billion is actually addressable? Say hypothetically if, there was more legalization and whatnot. Do you think there's casual bettors and VIP customers that if treated correctly and comparably would actually come on to a FanDuel and DraftKings? Just trying to get a better sense of, okay, the number could be 100 billion, but if 80 billion of it is criminal activity, then, well, that's not really a serviceable, addressable opportunity, right? Yeah. So that's what a lot of us are trying to figure out.
Yeah, so that's a really good question. We take a view of this that's basically, you can see that we're saying there's 40 billion last year, this half year there's 29 billion. We're going to end up in the kind of 50 billion to 55 billion at the end of this year in illegal GGR, okay? So this year was a bumper year because we had things like Copa America, okay? And the Olympics. And it's just, there's more people aware of gambling, there's more people joining services.
Thanks, DraftKings and FanDuel.
Exactly, we're seeing, but again, all of that advertising and marketing is a good thing because at least it's helping people convert, is the main thing, away from being with illegals only. Right. Because again, with the iceberg, you didn't know what was going on under the waterline before. So now we're kind of going, oh, there's all these people gambling, and there's all this gambling advertising. That's a good thing. That's part of the changeover process. You needed to convert what was already there. So part of this is converting that audience. But will that audience convert and stay converted? Okay. The problem is, no, they won't stay converted unless you cut off their access to all that illegal gambling. Now that's not a censorship issue, it's not a free speech or rights issue, that's just criminality. Right. Those guys don't have licenses, they don't pay taxes, they don't look after their customers, and they don't care whether you win or lose because half of them won't even pay you back if you did win. Right. So you need no access to that stuff and it's a bad choice for you as a consumer. The perception of that choice is dangerous though, isn't it? So if I think that one of these illegal gambling companies gives me, well, lots of nice slot bonuses and great pricing on sports betting offers, and it gives me free trips to Costa Rica and Antigua and all these other offshore places where I can meet nice people because they love the offshore promotions because again, none of their staff want to come to the US in case they get arrested. Yeah, of course so that needs to be less threat and more reality for them, that they are fugitives from justice and they've stolen billions of dollars. The great illegal gambling robberies is what these people have pulled off, and they're pulling it off every damn day, okay? So for the legal industry, yes, there is a huge amount of growth to come, but that needs to become when they have the ability to fight on a level playing field, don't they? So if I can only offer you sports betting, and I can only offer you certain bet types, the insanity of things like the Oscars, the most American of movie awards shows, okay? I can bet on that legally in 5 or 6 states, and every year there's a toss-up in the press, and the Washington Post will be going, well, you can bet legally over here, and then they'll feature offers from people like Bovada, like the Washington Post did this year, and the New York Times. They were going to go out, the New York Times says this woman's going to win Best Actress, and it's like, really?
Oh, God.
And you're calling it out for illegal gambling. So legal gambling has to be allowed to fight, fire with fire here, to basically go, we have all the products, we can do all the promotions, and we can bring the best of our American business sense, marketing sense, and awareness of the marketplace and our customers to bring customers choice, convenience, and value for money. If they can't do those things, price, product, promotion, fundamentals, how do you compete effectively? So we all want to be kind of like, oh, it's gambling and we want to feel moral about it. Let's just be business about this, okay? Let's just focus on where's the money being made, where's the money being spent, where's the money being banked. Less of that is in America than there should be, and that should be something that people are angry about at the societal level and at the economic level. You want that tax from this business. The legal industry wants to give it to you. We're happy to pay the tax. Otherwise, we wouldn't agree to taxation rates like 51% on stakes in New York. Would anybody have agreed to that if they didn't hope for cross-sellability in the future? Nobody in their right mind would be like, okay, so for a $10 bet, I'm giving you 510 as the stake. Yeah, that sounds like a great opportunity to lose money and bleed out. So nobody would be doing that. So the whole point of this would be, you're playing a kind of waiting game, waiting for the governor and regulators and the legislators to say, okay, we've come to a common sense view of this. You need to be on a level playing field with all of those guys you're trying to replace. Let's give you the opportunity to do that. Act responsibly, act normally, be balanced and reasonable, take care of all these problems with child exclusion, with self-exclusion. Don't be too flagrant in your advertising, and don't be going crazy taking every damn billboard in the state. Do it reasonably, but you need to replace those guys. We needed to allow the industry to kick crime out, and nobody took the kind of card for going, whose job is it to kick crime out? It's all of our jobs, but at the beginning of this business in America, everybody kind of went, I just want to get some money first.
Right. So we're still very much in that stage.
Still very much in that stage. And again, maybe it's because we couldn't afford to kick crime out, but now we all need to work together to do that.
So I guess maybe to summarize it, of this, say last year was 40 billion, this year it could be upwards of 50 billion.
55, I reckon, this year.
A lot of that is addressable for DraftKings, a FanDuel,
even if
BetMGM.
10% of that's addressable, it's huge.
Yeah.
If you could get to 20, you could get to 30, you could get to 50, but the point is, how much of that is sharp customers? How much of that is kind of the customers you don't want?
Right.
It's going to be what it always is,
right.
1 to 2% in
Got
the
it,
marketplace.
okay.
It's not going to be, 50% of that money, the 40
Right.
billion, is not realizable. Most of that money is realizable, but right now, customers have open choice,
Sure.
no restrictions. You made the point about, what if you go to a website and that website's not available anymore? No one's going to websites pretty much anymore is one point,
Okay.
We're looking at all of the activity. Every week that figure moves in favor of apps. Every week that figure moves in favor of even things like
So
chat
there's
groups
shadow
and Telegram.
apps and things of that nature
Exactly.
that allow them to...
You don't need to go to app stores for these apps. You can download it directly from those websites,
Okay.
those operators' sites, and also you can get them through chat groups, Telegram, WhatsApp, etc. You can get it through there. So if nobody's looking at this stuff, nobody's aware of where this activity is going and where the audience is fundamentally. So if you're trying to sell a product to a community, know your audience. If you're trying to know kind of like how much money could I make, how much money should I be making, look at their activity. We're here to help you make the money you should. That's
Very
the point.
interesting. I know you guys have some work coming out that you're going to be publishing, but maybe if we could get just a little teaser on, a lot of us are focused on, the next states to legalize. Of course, there's been a lot of growth in the legal channel that we've all been sort of fixated on. And there's obviously this illegal channel that now we, especially in our clients, are focused on. But a market like California, a market like Texas, Florida is sort of a black box because it's one operator, although that might be changing. Any measuring stick as to what kind of activity you guys see in a place like California or Texas? Just because those are, we all think they are. We can estimate based on this comp and that comp. of how big of an opportunity that is. But any sense for that, I think, would be
Absolutely.
really interesting
So,
for the listeners.
Thank you. It's a great question. Everyone's been asking us about the US. We published the national figures for last year and obviously the first half of this year.
Yeah.
We have teased, and that's why you're asking me, that we're doing a project called the USA Everything at the moment.
Yeah.
That's every state, every gambling product, all the audience, all their activity all the time. So we'll be coming out in the next few weeks with figures for California, Texas, Georgia, all these states that don't have any gambling, even Utah, which was a really surprising one for us. So there's some really interesting data out there where you can take a view morally, religiously, off the back of the legislature voting a certain way. You can take a view about gambling, but the reality is very different. So what I'd say on that is I'm not going to give any numbers out today. Come back to us, see, I can come back on the show in a few weeks' time. We can talk about the USA Everything numbers. California, Texas, and Georgia are huge. Utah is bigger than anyone expected it to be. By a long way.
Interesting.
And it shows you that the reality of this is create the level playing field. All of the products, all the activity towards legal industry, and start to help the industry channelize, because as we keep saying in America, the legal licensed reality has not materialized yet. So what this business could and should be in America, we're way, way, way off what it could be, okay? So the promise has not come good yet, okay? I'm not saying it won't, it will, but we need to do more to help that industry move. We need to also start acting in a coordinated fashion rather than just saying, any moral view of this, when you're in that changeover period of trying to convert a business from what it was, a criminal reality, to a legal licensed taxpaying reality. Trying to convert that takes effort, takes care. It also means data as reality. Stop making opinions about this, stop using surveys, stop doing all of this kind of academic trading of punches in the press going, well, so-and-so says this about it, and this. We're the only people out there who are basically focused on one thing. Just look at the audience from above. I don't need to know that it's you, Sean, doing this, but I know that this is what's going on out there. Going back right to the beginning of my career, I wanted to say that people crave anonymity online. We've kind of done that with YieldSec. We don't need to know who you are, but we do know that you're a consumer in X state, using this site, using that site, okay? Looking at that value and behavior, we know that most American businesses, that gaming business was absolutely perfected in Vegas, okay? Now, let's start to take that Las Vegas lesson and take it online. Let's kick out the crime, control the business, and generate success for everybody. The model that was created in Las Vegas in land-based casinos, America perfected the land-based casino resort. That idea went all over the world, into tribal gaming, into Macau, okay?
Yeah, absolutely.
So why can't America be doing the same in online gaming? It should be doing the same in online gaming. It's not been given the ability to do that right now. So let's get on with that mission, because that's where the real value is in this. Am I positive, negative about the industry in the next few years? I'm sure you're going to ask me that.
I was going to close with that.
I'm very bullish about where the success is in this business. I'm very bullish that there is great success to come. People probably, one question I think you guys were asked was about, did I make a comment about DraftKings? So DraftKings, I'm on quote as saying that their plan to pass on the tax burden to consumers, which they shelved, and maybe we had some part in that. So there was a comment in the press where I was quoted as having said that the DraftKings plan was delusional. I did not say it was delusional. I may have been thinking.
There you go, DraftKings, if you're listening.
I may have been, just in case you are listening, Jason. I didn't say that anybody was delusional. I said it wouldn't work because all it's going to create is basically an impression with customers that you're trying to charge me tax. That's what the customer will hear. Okay? You're trying to charge me tax. You're trying to pass on tax burden to me. I ain't paying for that. And I'm going straight up the street to illegal gambling. First thing we noticed from a platform monitoring perspective, within hours of that being said by the DraftKings CEO, there were user groups on Twitter, on X, and on Instagram who were saying things like boycott DraftKings, okay? Is that real customers, or is that illegal gambling plants and shills? And that's kind of what we said, was basically, you're creating an opportunity for them here.
Yeah, this is a window for them,
Because the illegal gambling scene, what's going on in America, what goes on in many marketplaces, the legal industry is being demonized and bullied, and they see that, and they want to keep piling fuel on that fire to go, let them burn while we make money and no one even talks about us or points to us. So that's the point. Understand that crime is insidious. Understand that it's not just about their illegal gambling. They're crooks, these people, okay? Fundamentally. So don't trust them. The cease and desist strategy, one thing I forgot to mention today is basically, look, everybody wants to look at this and think we need one magic bullet in one magic gun to go after that one werewolf. It's Halloween every damn night in this business, okay? So you need to be looking at this going, there's no such thing as a magic bullet or magic gun. I just need to have the right processes, the right data, the right analysis and recommendations to help myself make money, to help defeat them as the secondary mission. Fundamental mission here, make money now. Make the money you should, and work together to coordinate against crime. But we're not asking anybody to become Batman here overnight or something.
That's a great way to close it.
Thank you.
We're a little bit over time, but appreciate everybody for joining us. I'm Sean Jenkins. This is Ismail
Thank you so much.
Vali
Thank you
from
very much.
Yield
Thank you for
Tech.
everyone for listening today as well.
Thank you. Hopefully we'll have you back.
Thank you.
But thank you everyone for joining us. Tune in for our next series of events. Take care. Bye.